Welcome to the 21st episode of Why It's Awesome, the spoiler-free show where we attempt to take something often easily dismissed and explain why maybe you should give it a shot. The intention with this series is to help new fans find something that they'll enjoy that initially they might have passed over, or so that people who are already fans can pass this video on to their friends to persuade them to give the subject in question a go. This week I'll be looking at a request we've gotten a fair bit over the last little while: New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we are starting, as we always do, with what could be some common reasons for dismissal. This time divided into whether or not you are already a wrestling fan. People who aren't fans of this type of entertainment may state, what is New Japan Pro Wrestling? And, of course, you know wrestling's fake, right? They're not really hurting each other. For those of you who are already wrestling fans, reasons for dismissal are usually along the lines of, but I already watched WWE. Japanese wrestling? How will I know what's happening? And, well, how do I watch this anyway? So, for the uninitiated, New Japan Pro Wrestling is Japan's largest wrestling promotion, and in terms of attendance and revenue, it is the second largest wrestling promotion in the world. Of course, just behind WWE. New Japan grew to prominence due to its very distinct presentation of wrestling and the open working arrangement it has with various MMA and professional wrestling promotions all around the world. Since its creation in 1972, New Japan Pro Wrestling has been the frontrunner of some of the best professional wrestling on the planet, highlighted by its annual Wrestle Kingdom event that regularly draws in tens of thousands of live attendees. Tens of thousands of paying attendees gathering to watch people pretend to hurt each other? I hear you ask, flabbergasted. Yes, indeed there are. Now, there is and will continue to be 1004 different answers to this, quotation marks here guys, criticism of wrestling as a form of entertainment. That it is fake. The focus of this video will be the it's not fake, it's predetermined argument, because that's exactly what wrestling is. It's scripted, it's a performance. It just so happens that this particular performance is a very physical one that attempts to present itself as reality. To me, it's the same as saying it's fake to dismiss a fight scene in an action movie. Yes, you are right, it is fake, but within the confines of the story the fight exists in, it is real, and much like in the movies, it doesn't matter that the fighting is fake. Wrestling is just another form of storytelling, one told via the participants' blood, sweat and tears. Well, hopefully not too much blood anyway, because even though a typical wrestling match is framed as a fight so intense it only ends when one participant is so badly hurt that they are unable to kick out of a pin attempt, the wrestlers involved are not actually trying to hurt each other. Well, for the most part anyway. However, you can't fake gravity. One big criticism I often see as a kind of subsection to the it's fake argument is that the competitors are clearly not hurting each other. It takes you out of the reality the wrestlers are trying to convey. It breaks your immersion. Well, if this is something that has troubled you in the past when attempting to watch wrestling, New Japan might just have you covered. As I mentioned earlier, one of the big reasons New Japan Pro Wrestling rose to as much prominence as they have done is because of their distinct presentation of a wrestling match. It treats its matches as a legitimate fight, a legitimate sport, not just entertainment with some wrestling thrown in. This means fewer theatrics, less focus on story, and an overall more serious approach to how the wrestlers conduct themselves in the ring. This presentation has come to be known as Strong Style, although it's also known by a few other variations. Now, I understand that attempting to add legitimacy and realism to a sport that we have already established is fake can be a little odd to wrap your head around. But remember, whilst the overall genre of professional wrestling is fake, within the universes these wrestling promotions exist in, wrestling is real. I can't walk down the street and just casually bump into an orc or a goblin, but Middle-earth is swarming with the buggers. Wrestling exists in a different reality to our own, where this is what actual fighting looks like. New Japan attempts to make this reality a little easier to buy into by treating it as a legitimate fight, with all the strikes and submission holds you would expect to see in one. The strikes, for example, you see being thrown in a match with this style do not fuck about. They have serious physical impact and are connecting with a great deal of force. It is a regular occurrence to see wrestlers viciously strike each other, as it helps the people involved tell a story about perseverance, fighting spirit, and sheer determination. It is a simple formula that throughout decades of fine-tuning has allowed New Japan Pro Wrestling to forego a lot of the over-the-top storylines and gimmicks that have plagued other Western promotions, and honestly are now looked back on with some embarrassment. New Japan instead focuses on the skill and tenacity of the wrestlers themselves, allowing people to appreciate wrestling for wrestling's sake. That's not to say there aren't any strong characters or storylines going in New Japan, because there are. They are just less overt than you would typically expect for a genre whose poster boy for a very long time was a balding middle-aged man with the skin of a hot dog and the facial hair of an 80s German porn star. This realistic wrestling style is helped a considerable amount by the people in charge bringing in the background of the wrestlers on their roster. Many of the wrestlers there have extensive experience in multiple martial arts disciplines. This allows them to bring very different styles to the ring, and as such produce very different kinds of matches. It also helps them maintain the illusion of what they are performing being a real fight. This is reflected in the fact that Japanese wrestlers are taken far more seriously by their audiences than Western wrestlers, and how that the main element on display in a typical match is the athleticism of the participants. This more subtle approach to the presentation of a wrestling match means that it is a ton easier to figure out what is going on without the need of following a storyline for weeks or to even understand the language of the commentators. I have been following New Japan Pro Wrestling for years, and the language barrier has never once prevented my enjoyment of the product. Hell, with how some commentators can harm my enjoyment of a match, I'm occasionally thankful that I can only understand the tone of what they're saying. It is also worth noting though that if this is a problem for you, that for the big events, New Japan likes to bring in English commentators to help provide any context that is needed for its international viewers. With its dedication to realism, physicality, and wrestling, New Japan has garnered a very respectful and loyal audience based around attention and appreciation of the wrestling on display. This has led to a fairly serious environment where matches are given the weight they deserve, wins and losses have important consequences, and ultimately, it's where some of the best professional wrestling on the planet happens regularly. If you are interested in seeing some of what New Japan has to offer, it has a streaming service that you may want to check out. For a monthly fee of 999 yen, or your regional equivalent, you may have access to everything it has to offer over at NewJapanProWrestlingWorld.com. As a heads up though, the default language is, of course, Japanese, so there is a link in the description to take you to the partially English translated version of the website, and another to help you through the process of signing up if that is what you wish to do. And with that, I must bid you all sayonara and end another episode of Why It's Awesome. So, what did you think? Did you enjoy this video? Let me know with a like, and if you would like to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Is there something that you love that other people just don't seem to get that you might want me to look into and make a video about? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, what do you think about New Japan Pro Wrestling? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? And why? What is it about the show that makes you feel that way? Leave a comment to start a discussion, and as always, thank you for watching.